Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jumpsuit Utopia. This is Esri. You might remember my previous host, Lexi, who was just annihilated by Rick Berman because he's a raging misogynist. Um, Today, we are covering the Picard episode, The End is the Beginning. So that's the third episode of the first season. And I will introduce our guests. Well, I guess my co-host, of course, is Sophie. Say hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sophie.
And so Sophie's been on the From Alpha to Omega reading series. We do streams on Twitch, lots of fun. Next, we have Kyle Thompson of General Intellect Unit.
Hello.
Hey. And last but not least, we have Chief O'Brien from Alpha to Omega.
Hello.
Hi there. So basically, I'll just cut out everyone saying stuff because I'll introduce you and I'll let them know how you feel. Let them know what your opening thoughts and remarks are. Anyway, so our topic for today is the third episode of the first season of Picard, The End of the Beginning, and from what I understand, this is basically the end of the pilot. So, like, normally when you get a new Trek show, you get like a nice two-parter to kind of set the tone for the series. This time, we waited like 3 weeks to get the first engage, the first all right, we're going to space now. So let's see. I guess we have a main things to chew on here. There's the prospect of the whole Utopia Planitia shipyard terrorist attack thing being something of an inside job by Romulans or something. Now, this isn't the first time there was something like a 9/11 metaphor in Star Trek season of Enterprise that's basically themed around some sort of space 9/11. But rarely is it like, but I don't know. It wasn't all that critical of the national security state in Enterprise. And here we're getting something a little more, I don't know, sane in response. Let's see. Do we have any comments on the official story of, just a rogue synth, some fatal code error in the OS and just a bunch of synths going off because, you never know with those synths. Does that sit right to you? Or do you think maybe somebody?
So one of the things I think that wasn't in our show notes that kind of just occurred to me from you talking about it and comparing it to like the Space 9/11 of Enterprise and all that was because a more direct comparison to 9/11 and the kind of metaphor that I have in my mind right now is that Picard is kind of like the more grounded lefty kind of person who's like, yeah, like that attack was terrible, but like their response is overblown and it's completely irrational and they're acting out of fear. Like, this is really bad. Whereas Raffi's like, the Romulans stopped their own rescue, right? She's like the 9/11 truther. She's like the Mars attack truther,
Hell yeah.
And that's the thing that jumped out in my mind about this. And I think the show's kind of hinting at Raffi is actually right. #truth. But
well, maybe it's just some snake leaf induced paranoia.
Right. Yeah, Raffi is also on them drugs. Girl, let me take you to a meeting.
Right. Bumper stickers are all over the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Smoke snake leaf every day? Or vape snake leaf every day, I suppose? Is that what she has? She has this pretty awesome
does vape. She does vape.
He does vape. So,
vape queen. Vape queen.
To all of us that are making fun of vapes like they won't exist after World War III, boom. All right? Vapes will outlive us all.
Raffi is a traditionalist,
Yeah. Well, at least she grows her own.
Yeah.
Surely you just have like some kind of thing they just like tip your skin with and then you get stoned or something.
in Voyager, they had this like sort of Native American scientists had developed this way of going on a spirit quest, like a vision quest, without tripping, which or without taking drugs. So you could just trip whenever you want. I
Now we're
imagine,
talking.
so I imagine that you could probably get kind of stoned whenever you want, and then kind of like you know, kind of like synthahol. You could just when you need to not be stoned, just like shake it off. Anyway. Or maybe a meeting. I think Rafi might need a meeting. Sophie, you might be onto something.
You know that
I just remembered one time we talked about synth weed, like the idea of synthale. I don't know if that was us or somebody else, but like how they never show it in the show, but like there's some ensigns who are like going back to the little like apartment condo thing, and they're like sitting around playing like old school Nintendo 64 Ancient Earth video game, playing Mario Kart, smoking some synth weed. Red alert goes off. They're able to like shake off the high and like get to the battle stations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's like something that isn't really talked about very much in Trek, but it's kind of implied that like there is something approaching like the level of drug culture you get in the Culture series. Like, these drugs you can take and there's no after effects. It's easy to shake off. I am interested to see if that ever comes up when we get to the Mass Effect 2 space station they're going to in the next episode.
Well, yeah, that is very. The advertisement that Rafi fell upon was like, I'm a robot guy and a hologram throwing dice. Like, that's very un-Federation.
Yeah.
But the Federation right now is very un-Federation, I suppose. So.
Well, what is this? Some kind of like, Ferengi run like Las Vegas sector? Like what is it?
It seems like it.
Exactly. It's the hive of scum and villainy you go to in Mass Effect 2. That's what it is.
Hell yeah. Well, some people said that Captain Rios seems like a Star Wars character already. So, like, that would be further Star Wars, which I have no problem with this. I like this.
And La Serena, it looks pretty similar to the Normandy. So there's a lot of Mass Effect vibes going on.
All right. Lots of Mass Effect vibes.
Yeah, it does have like warship like girders and like kind of harsh like design, unlike the Enterprise D and E that were like carpeted and cozy, and you could go like snuggle up to Deanna Troi or like go like hang out and play poker, and you're just chilling, getting some synthale from the bar. This is more like the Normandy where there's some cook who needs you to go on a weird side quest for him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also more Spartan than the Defiant.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring up the Defiant. The Defiant has a harsher design compared to the Enterprise, but it's still definitely not as harsh.
Speaking of,
I was just going to say, I don't know when to say it, like for editing and stuff. But I kind of found the introduction of the two characters quite slow and painful. I don't know if anybody else. I found this episode dragged compared to the other two. Like, are we going to? How big is the team? Are we going to have 4 more episodes where they go around and just meet more people on the team?
No, this is it.
This is it. There's only 3 of them on the team.
I think there's going to be a little more.
This is the core crew, and then we're going to have familiar faces pulled in here and there.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like there's still like a Romulan samurai guy that they have to pick up.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
But other than that, like the team is probably not much bigger. But let's see. Let's see if we eat our words here. I mean, it's not like it's not a huge ship, right?
They did have to make to make the Romulan a samurai, didn't they? They couldn't like give up on the old Asian fucking tropes.
I guess not, unfortunately.
We don't know yet, but he's going to be some kind of badass. We'll see.
We've got an away mission next round, I think. So I'm looking forward to seeing a Picard away mission. now that they have because I don't know, it's we can get into pacing stuff later. It's a common complaint that it's felt like there was 2.5 episodes stuffed into 3 episodes, but ultimately, I think the reason that we get so much time with these characters is so we can, I don't know, so we feel something for the crew before we get the engage at the end, so we know who we're dealing with. I was very surprised to not see Laris and Jaban go along with, but I guess somebody's got to mop up.
What are they gonna do? The Zhat Vash have infiltrated Starfleet. They're sending death squads to Picard's house, and Picard is just like, peace. Yeah, I'm going now.
Kyle, who's going to grow the grapes?
Very weird.
Who's going to grow the grapes, Kyle?
Robots?
You literally cannot. You literally cannot use robot labor.
You can't use robots, yeah.
Can't be exploiting the robots.
It's not even. It's illegal to use robots. But here's my vibe. Here's my wish. I wish Picard would go full libertarian and be like, "Fuck it, I'm building synths, and they're going to run the fucking vineyard and fuck the government." And he starts waving the Gadsden flag, and he's like, has robot guards who shoot at the mailman. I want that.
I don't know, babe. I don't know.
Babe, I want this. Let me have it. Have it.
You want him to move the Vasquez rocks?
Yes.
I want him to have a Romulan, death camp doing picking his grapes. That's what I want.
Really? Is that what you want, Tom?
That is what I want.
All right.
I mean, what are you going to do with all those Romulans who didn't die?
Exactly. Pick grapes.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to move on from your weird Romulan death camp idea.
Yeah.
It's coming back. It's going to be a repeated trope in this podcast.
Real heel turn for the show from
for Picard.
We need to not do eco-fascism and put people in death camps who are refugees to suddenly actually immigrant labor should be sweated and bring back the gulag.
So what you're saying is that this is an inside job and Picard caused the synth attack to get the Romulans. Okay. All right.
There was Picard.
Further down the
back
rabbit hole.
Back of the head, there was still some bits of hair, and that was actually Picard's head. You can tell.
Shit.
No, here's my conspiracy theory.
An easy one to edit.
Here's my conspiracy theory. Picard caused the Romulan star to go supernova because he is a liberal cuck shilling for the Romulans.
Okay.
And he's trying to destroy the Federation. All of it was an inside job, and it was Picard's fault.
Picard was because you went rogue.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I can't think of a good Tower 7 analog, but we're gonna cut all of this. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on. All right, so Raffi believes that someone in Starfleet allowed the synth attack to go forward, which, if you're familiar with 9/11 conspiracy theories, this is the most rational and limited form that the conspiracy can take. You could go further than that and believe that somebody in the government did it. I guess it's hard to imagine why the Romulans would sabotage their own rescue effort. That's not exactly 9/11 analog material, but it is a question.
I think the theory that you can kind of piece together here is that the Zhat Vash, they saw this as an opportunity to get the synths banned, the synthetics, the AI banned, because that is their core agenda. They're fanatical about it, and they would sacrifice a large number of the Romulan population. They said, oh, well, some people will be left over. It'll be okay in the interest of doing their core mission, which is banning and destroying all forms of artificial intelligence.
There's also what Ramda said, which kind of ties into that a little bit. When she was talking to Soji, she said something like, "You are the destroyer." Like she just started like freaking out. That's ties into a whole other thing that we could explore, but it ties into this in that the Zhat Vash seem almost. I know the Romans don't like mythical or religious or whatever, but that seems to be kind of their thing. They have a kind of supernatural fear of Soji and Daj specifically. And if you think that this person is going to be like, not to be too obscure, but like a Sailor Saturn just going to destroy fucking everything and she can't help it. Like, if that's what you think that she's going to do, you would stop at anything to stop this person. It would be like going to any length to stop Control from Disco, for example. Like, this is going to be the destroyer of all sentient life or whatever she's the destroyer of. You got to stop it no matter what. So okay. Zhat Vash could be acting on that principle. Like, yeah, we know a bunch of Raman civilians are going to get fucked by the supernova, but we got to stop the destroyer, y'all. We got to do it.
We have to take out all synthetic life and prevent all synthetic life from happening, because otherwise the destroyer is going to come and kill us all anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And civilians are expendable to the Zhat Vash. I don't think it was the rest of the Romulans who were involved in this.
Agreed. That because Picard's right. Like, why would the Romulan mainstream government, even Tal Shiar, wouldn't be like, "Oh, fuck you, Federation. We're going to blow you up because you're helping us." Like, that doesn't make any sense. But
when you blow you up and blame it on robots.
Right. When you have this fanatical worldview that it may turn out to be justified. We don't know what Sochi's about. Like, but if they have this fanatical worldview that Sochi is going to destroy everything, you kind of, that kind of provides them the justification, rational or not.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's where it's coming from. And then why are the Federation conspiring? Like, why are elements of the Federation conspiring with the Zhat Vash? Probably it's anti-Romulan xenophobia, just saying, well, if we permanently cripple the Romulan Star Empire, that's an advantage because they can't be trusted. Look at what they did when the Dominion was around. First of all, they sided with the Dominion. Then they fucked up and got massacred. We don't want anything to do with these people. Just realpolitik.
Enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, so some extremists maybe on the Federation side that way.
All right, so uphold Rafi thought on the Zhat Vash and staying woke on Power 7. All right, staying woke on that. So, all right, speaking of character that you don't really get in Star Trek, which is someone who just seems is it ex-Starfleet that seems excluded by society, lives in some analog of poverty, because again, how does the Federation work? But when she's talking to Picard, a number of things come up. But one of them is, "Oh yeah, I saw your interview. Got a real nice estate there, Picard. Got a real nice hereditary, private property, little estate. And I live in a hovel." Okay, so what's that about? Did she request a hovel by Vasquez Rocks, and is resentful about it, or or are there credits or something? What's happening here? If we're in a post-scarcity utopia of some kind, if the use of money is gone, what is what is the deal? Why does this make any goddamn sense? And if so, how?
So there's only two explanations that I can see. And then neither of them really perfectly fit. One is Rafi just kind of excluded herself. And I'm not blaming her. There's clearly a really big mental health issue that isn't being addressed. But she just was fuck off after everything went down with Admiral Picard leaving and she gets fired from Starfleet. She's I'm out. I don't want anything to do with the society. I'm going to go live in a hovel and smoke space peyote. But the other explanation is the one that Kyle kind of wrote in the show notes about. There is basically the Federation isn't truly post scarcity. It's kind of like a UBI on crack, right? And so you have all your base needs taken care of, but the work you do determines like the quality of that life, basically.
So it's more like social security.
Yeah, it's basically like a
so
giant welfare state. That's like it's a welfare state on crack.
Yeah, but it's like, well, can we specify what we mean by on crack? Because usually it's something like means something like on crazy steroids or something. But here, what you mean is like it's not exactly a universal welfare state. There's like grades of remuneration or something.
No, the welfare state is like a universal basic income, basically. Is what I'm saying. But instead of an income, it's like you're guaranteed. It's guaranteed housing, guaranteed subsistence food, and I guess you get a computer.
But UBI is maybe a flawed way of framing it because that requires currency, and it's specifically that's the whole point of UBI. But let's frame it as being some kind of weird welfare state, and like because it's direct provision of a hovel near a cherished Hollywood shooting region, which for some reason no one else wants to live at Vasquez Rocks, even though they shot a bunch of Star Trek there, which
Yeah, you would think Rafi would be into that. I know that people would be into that, but I don't know.
Well, maybe she is into that, but she's just not like proud of the life she's built there. Maybe I don't know. Like,
well, and here's my way to problematize both of those theories too. Like in the big welfare state theory, right? Like, if you got guaranteed housing, you don't have to live in a hovel in Vasquez Rocks. Actually, you could like get an apartment and. You can get an apartment in like Neo Boston or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, maybe it's not as nice as Dodge is because Dodge is like a graduate student and that's actually valued in that society. But, certainly it's better. And I would like to imagine, and no matter how far the Federation has fallen, I would like to imagine that like, even if you're not like thriving in this meritocratic society, the lower end apartments are still like pretty nice. Like, you have all the tech you want. You have the replicator. You can get whatever furniture you want for free. You're just not in like skyline, like beautiful view kind of thing. It's just like a nice apartment and you're comfortable.
Right.
But
I feel like what's going on here is that, we've sort of talked about how this series is addressing the moment we live in right now, right? And is addressing the like collapse of living standards in America, the growing impoverishment, all that kind of stuff. And it's really pushing at the boundaries of what is conceivable in the Federation scenario. Like, because it doesn't, no matter how you think about it, it doesn't really make sense that someone would be living in a hovel, especially on Earth, which has been referred to like in previous episodes on Earth as paradise. This is really, really straining the scenario what they're doing here.
Yeah.
I have a third. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm just turning this over because like this isn't supposed to happen on Earth. Like, and
well, I have a third theory.
Oh, a third theory.
A third theory.
Yeah.
Perhaps what's going on, and this is perhaps more of a meta theory than like what's happening in the universe, but perhaps the writers can't really portray poverty easily in the utopian future that they set up that's been established. But what they can portray in both Rafi and Rios is alienation. And so what they're experiencing isn't that they're poor. I mean, it seems like Rios isn't poor by any stretch. He has a pretty nice fucking ship. But what they do betray with both characters is that they're alienated. Both alienated from Starfleet. Both kind of outcast. Both suffering from mental illness. And it might be a situation where they feel so wronged and jaded by the society that they truly believed in that they never sought help. Maybe even in the universe that helps is readily available, but they just never. I mean, that if you're so hurt and felt so betrayed, like surely that must be possible. You just don't go to the doctor because you're like, fuck these guys, like they're the cause of this.
Right. That's sort of my explanation for this as well. That in a way they've fallen through the cracks, and because you don't have some kind of like communitarian thing where everyone is, like, I don't know. You have something like bourgeois liberty as we know it, where you can sort of elect to not go to the doctor and elect to like just move out to Vasquez Rocks and not talk to anybody anymore. Like, I suppose that's, like probably the best explanation, because it's hard to imagine, at least they haven't given us the materials, no pun intended, to imagine, how this post-scarcity world can create somebody like Rafi.
I mean, the materials they gave us is her getting fired and her feeling like betrayed by Picard.
Right. Yeah, it's the material element that's sort of explained here.
Materialist, got it.
Well, no, like could she have a nicer hovel? Is that hovel kind of awesome? Because when I saw it, I was like, okay, like it's not a wine estate. It's not, like a inherited wine estate from, some French colonialist or something. But it is like, it's got all the gadgets. It's kind of sweet. Like, I know the show you're not supposed to go, whoa, that place is kind of sweet. I know, but anyway, real estate is what it is, right? Like,
I mean, I live in a real hovel in a real desert, and Rafi's place is cooler. Mine's bigger, but her place is cooler, and she doesn't have roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've lived in portable housing before, and that one was better than where I lived. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate that like they're at least making a gesture. Like, look, even at its worst, Earth ain't that bad. That's a positive move on the production side.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think framing this in terms of mental health and alienation and, not just feeling excluded from society, but actively resenting the institutions of society in a way that lock you out, kind of makes sense of what's happening with specifically Rafi, but also with Rios. Now, Rios seems more of a direct PTSD case. Rafi, feels a lot of betrayal. There's a heartbreaking scene where she's just like, you could have called JL. You could have called Picard. Like, why weren't you there like at all? I was not doing well. Like, there is like a whole thing there, and I don't know. I don't know if that was more meta commentary, being like, where the hell was Picard during the whole time, during the financial crisis? We could have used Picard. Where was he? I don't know if that's where the show is going, but I was sitting there smoking my snake leaf going, yeah, Picard, where were you, dude? I needed you. But like,
he was picking grapes. Isn't that
Yeah.
obvious?
I guess he was just picking grapes and making wine.
It's a
And
euphemism, I think.
okay, yeah. Well, but I guess the implication for Picard's character anyway is that he was also sour and hurt and like just withdrawn. He has a wine estate for some reason. I think maybe that's just one of those weird things that doesn't plug into Star Trek all that well, even though it's well established.
Well, I mean, I think like what we can kind of say is like, obviously, despite post scarcity, like land is always going to be scarce, right? Unless you want to move off world or whatever. And it seems like the aristocracy was not expropriated by the Federation because that's inherited property straight up. Like it is inherited land.
Yeah. Now we could headcanon be like, well, maybe it's like some sort of, I don't know, like you could use it if you want case, like with inherited land. Like maybe Picard wouldn't have had need for a chateau and might have given it to Starfleet, but he got kicked out of Starfleet or something.
There maybe that's the reason why he had to take care of the grapes, is because if you don't use the land productively, you're going to be expropriated, and then it's like your inherited or your family heritage and heirlooms are going to become communal property.
Right, it's like a personal weird version of personal property versus private property kind of thing. Like if you're not actively using the land productively, the Federation's like, well, you don't really need this, so like, bye.
So that's why Grandpa Cisco was working at the restaurant. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's a similar situation. And it also explains why Lars and Shabbat have to stay behind.
Yeah, so he doesn't lose it. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, and
I would have hired or like asked someone else to do it though. Those did you see that fight scene with them? They're fucking badass.
They are badass.
Love to have them to help me. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that they're probably going to send more Zhat Vash agents to like rough up the estate, and like, there's like a dog there. You got to protect the dog from Zhat Vash. So
number one,
yes. Protect number one.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring up something about Rios, kind of going back to the exclusion kind of thing. It seems like what was happening with the EMH and the emergency
navigation
hologram, the Scottish one, lol.
Irish.
Yeah. The navigation one was Irish, I think.
You're talking about the doctor. The doctor had a terrible Irish accent.
Well, no, there's the doctor, and then there's the navigation one.
Oh, right.
And they had different accents.
Ah.
Were they both terrible?
They were both pretty bad, yeah.
I can't remember the Scottish one, but the Dublin one, man, was goddamn painful. Are we going to be stuck with an EMH with a fake Irish accent? They've got there's loads of Irish actors. Can you not just get one?
Well, I guess the
they got one, and then that was their quota, and then they were like, "We can't hire another." It's
sorry,
the rules.
No more than one Irish
oh my God.
per Star Trek.
An Irish Romulan they managed to find. Fuck's sake!
Well, think about it. They had one Irish person for 2 Star Trek shows.
It's been established that the south of Romulus is Irish. No, wait, both the south and the north were
stubborn northerner.
The stubborn northerners. I think those are the people with the big brows.
The south is Irish. The north is American. That's the dialects on Romulus.
There we go.
Oh my god, that's so silly.
She flicks the Romulan's big brow and says he's a stubborn northerner. Like, I love that.
They're not going to be in the show anymore then, them 2 Romulans. Like 2 of the characters.
I think they'll be back. Like 1 episode, they'll be back.
Yeah, I don't think they're gone.
Yeah. Nah, no way. Laris and Shaban are lovely characters. I don't think the show is just going to leave them behind.
Yeah. What I was going to say, though, is that I think what the EMH and the other one represent is like society, the Federation being like, there's something wrong with you. You need help. And he's just like, fuck you. I'm going to read my existentialist book or whatever and smoke a cigar and drink. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I mean, like, he makes the EMH look like himself and then have different voices.
That's also weird. That
like the EMH and the ENH each have their own accent. They both look like him, and they both have their own personalities.
There's a little bit of a narcissistic personality disorder going on there too. It seems like.
Yeah, there's
not to be an armchair psychologist, but
really, if you surround if your only company are holograms that look like yourself, I think that qualifies.
It's like that faction in Endless Space that's like all Horatio. It's just the rich guy who cloned himself enough to make an entire civilization.
Yeah. And Rios is also clearly dealing with, other like mental illness stuff. You saw his beloved captain get blown to smithereens in front of him. You can't really like unsee it.
Brain splattered.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in the script.
That gave me some feels. That was a dark moment, but
Yeah.
it explained. I mean, in a short amount of time, I think the one thing you can say for stretching out this pilot over 3 episodes, which to me was an imperfect decision, but the one thing that was good for it was that it really establishes these new characters. These characters feel lived in. Honestly, I feel like Rios is more developed than Rafi. I guess Rafi was in the comic. I don't know if Rios was, but Rafi, we got the flashback scene, and we got her interactions with Picard in the present day, and that established basically all you need with Rafi. But like Rafi never had the moment of like, I saw my captain's brain splattered. Like as soon as Rios said that basically tells you everything you need to know about his character.
Yeah.
I think
Bye.
Tom's
What was
goodbye,
that?
Tom.
He'll be
But
back.
I think with Rafi, it's heavily implied that we're going to get a lot of scenes with her in the next episode because she's pursuing her own agenda on this station. So we're probably going to learn some more about her backstory when we see what it is she wants.
Yeah, once we learn what Free Cloud is, right? I'm sure we'll get like, and once we find Bruce Maddox, because she knows where Bruce Maddox is,
Right. Yes.
which is exciting.
That is exciting. Absolutely.
That's fair.
I am wondering how much it's going to look like Bespin. It's really an interesting question. What the design of Free Cloud is going to look like.
Ferenginar Bespin.
Oh, I really do hope it is run by some cool Ferengi.
What if
That
it's still Grand Nagus Rom?
Oh my god. Oh, that would be amazing.
And it's like full like woke neo-lib capitalist dystopia, you know? Because that was, his whole
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah,
after
yeah,
a while,
yeah.
like Quark and a lot of the trad Ferengi cared more about keeping their reactionary values than making money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you got to get with this new woke capitalism,
Yeah.
brother. Like,
That's right. Oh wow. There's like sensitivity training on Free Cloud.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Amazing.
Oh no! Don't tell me that HR still exists in the Federation. No.
Well, no.
Grand Nagus Rob's new, friendly, warm capitalism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rob's welfare state capitalism.
Yeah, and maybe it looks pretty good compared to the old stodgy reactionary Federation that, they said they were going to be some kind of socialist utopia or something, but actually they're pretty xenophobic and weird. What's the deal with that? Like,
I do. When you all brought up that Ferengi are running Free Cloud, I really want to see post Romulan reform Ferengi, because like that was like what, the last episode of Deep Space Nine or second to last? Like it was like
it's the
right
last
at the fucking
episode.
end. It was the last episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, it's right at the. I think it might be at the end of the. It might be at the end of that 8-episode arc, right before What You Leave Behind.
Right.
Yeah, so it's Free Cloud is a seedy class society, but it's really woke.
Right.
Yeah, you can't just like grope your Dabo girl anymore. You have to.
Yeah.
No, you gotta have contractual relationship and everything for that. And it's gotta be consensual. Then Yeah.
Yeah. And there's workers' protections technically. Okay,
Yeah.
so shut up. And hey, I mean, the Federation hates Romulans. We love Romulans. We love Romulans. Okay? Like
I
celebrate the Romulan culture.
Yes, celebrate
The
Romulan culture.
rich hybridity of the diaspora.
That's right.
I really want modern like post Rom Ferengi society to be like neckbeard like nightmare fuel, or like kind of going back to what Cal was saying, where like you have to like get a contractual obligation for everything. All the neckbeards like, see, this is what it's like if I don't have a contract signed and people are going to say I hurt them and blah, 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 blah. I really want that. I really want all the fedoras to come
Quark is
flying off.
blogging.
Yeah, yeah. Quark has a holo channel, where he just rants about like how this new Ferenginar is new Ferengi, Ferengi Imperium. I forget what the whole thing's called. The Ferengi Consortium, whatever.
Ferengi Alliance.
Thank you. The whole Ferengi Alliance has gotten completely cucked by Federation values. You know what? The Federation is better at being Ferengi now. All right, they got people living in hovels. All right, they don't like a bunch of people for historic reasons. They're great. I love them. If you really look at the rules of acquisition, tell me who's following them better.
Quark is an anti-imperialist.
Oh God.
Oh,
Lord save us.
But listen, if they don't work the DS9 stuff into this, it's their own damn fault. Like, that's supposed to be world building, people. And even though
100%.
like, come on.
I'm gonna be really upset if the Deep Space Nine inspired show is only disco. Like, and I like disco, and I don't need Picard to be like disco, but I need Picard to acknowledge Deep Space Nine. Like, this is post Deep Space Nine. This is the most recent stuff we have. You can't count Voyager because most of that's in the Delta Quadrant. So the most recent show we have to Picard, practically speaking, is Deep Space Nine. Like, they have to talk about the Dominion War. Are you kidding me?
I mean, they can and will count Voyager because 7 of 9 is here.
Sure, but as far as like world building, as far as like Star Trek as a place, like the 7 of 9 was so far removed from everything that was going on in the Federation. They were across the galaxy during the Dominion War.
Right, I get it. I'm 100% with you. Like, I want to see like how the Dominion War changed things. The only real inkling about that the Dominion War wrapped up was that at I don't know, it's not even really put out there, but that the Romulans were one of the big geopolitical players. Like, they hadn't been they weren't like overextended like the Klingons. They weren't like fucking wrecked by the Dominion War like the Cardassians. Like, basically the Romulans and the Federation were the big players in the Alpha Quadrant and the Alpha and Beta Quadrants. And then the fucking Romulans just get blowed up. Like, I guess there's not even really... No, they don't even really mention this. It's just sort of implied that if you took out the Romulan Star Empire, like, after the Dominion War, everyone else is kind of wrecked besides the Federation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, if we don't get Jake Sisko being Picard's inside man at FNN, I will eat my hat and write a very stern email. Okay?
Yes.
I want Sirach Lofton. Give me Sirach Lofton.
Yeah, don't eat your kitty ears, babe.
I will not eat these kitty ears unless I can get the ones that glow colors. Then I will eat these, and then I will get new ones.
Nice.
Wow.
All right.
Moving on. We're getting to the Borg Cube antics. We have some XB Natlib. All right. We have Jonathan Del Arco returning as Hugh. Of course, I think they say his name once, and it's not even totally clear. But that guy, the executive director of the Reclamation Project, is totally fucking Hugh.
They don't make a big deal about it.
No, they don't. But it's Next Generation, Season 5, Iborg.
Hell yeah. I was like, is that Hugh? As soon as he came on screen. And you know how like Amazon Prime has like you can move the mouse around and see who's on the screen, like what characters are and who the actor is?
Yeah.
And it said Hugh. I was like, and like I quickly like went online and looked up the name of the actor, and it was the same fucking actor. Even like
yeah.
I was so thrilled to see Hugh. And he grown.
Mm-hmm.
He grown.
He's not this like, I'm Hugh. Jordy's my friend.
That was basically Hugh's character in TNG. He was just this like, I don't know what I'm doing. Until, I mean, there was an episode with Laura where he's like, I'm mad. I still miss Jordy, but I'm mad.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing to see him back in the show. Formerly 3 of 5, now Hugh. Yes. And I'm interested to know what Hugh's agenda is as the director. Like, what does he want exactly?
I mean, I
Yeah.
saw you put that in the notes, but I got the vibe that his agenda seems kind of straightforward to me.
Yes.
And I think
Okay.
his agenda is that he wants to help the XBs. His agenda, I mean, it's straightforward but not boring, because his agenda is that the XBs, aka X-Borgs, are basically an oppressed minority, and that the
Yeah.
Romulans are just milking them for all their worth, but still treating them like they're a threat, like they could just like bork out at any moment.
Yeah.
And so I think that's his only motivation here. He's actually like a chaotic good, or maybe like neutral good kind of guy.
Well, that makes perfect sense. You know, you have Hugh and 7 of 9 that are like the XBs that we know from TNG and Voyager, right? And just from those episodes, or just from seeing those characters in their setting, of course, you get a lot more 7 of 9. How much like terror and suspicion do people show an ex-Borg when they're like, "Whoa, you used to be a Borg?" Like, this makes so much sense. I love this plot. And I love that, like, somehow Hugh got to be executive director of this project, which implies that there is, like, I don't know, that the Romulans, even though, yeah, they see the XBs as, you know, hazards to be warehoused, they see the XBs as, like, you know, a resource to be exploited. But also, they've appointed an XB to be the executive director. Why? So it makes perfect sense to me what his agenda is, what Hugh's agenda is. What doesn't make sense is, how did he get to be executive director in this setting?
That's
Are the
what I was
Romulans
kinda
very
getting at.
progressive?
Yeah, like when I said what is Hugh's agenda, I meant more like as director, like what is the project's agenda exactly, and how does it line up with Soji's, or like there's Soji's agenda prior to being activated, and then when she is activated, there's another agenda that she's pursuing, right?
I don't think she was fully activated in this episode, but yeah, I think you get a taste of that, and her motivation seems to completely shift when she's with Ramtha, and she wants to know, like, she knows all these details out of nowhere. She's like, how did you, like, crash this Borg software? How did you escape getting assimilated? Why was it you that caused this? All these details about your ship, I just fucking know. And she just kind of, like, goes into autopilot. So I think I'm going to give you full credit for this, but Kyle wrote a theory in the show notes about what was it, that Dr. Maddox programmed Soji to like go infiltrate the Borg cube and figure out like what's up with the XBs and what's up with the Borg and all that. And this seems like a central question, because there was something about Ramtha that we don't know yet that caused the whole fucking thing, that whole cube, to just like fall apart. So now I think prior to her being activated, her agenda is the same as Hugh's. I think it's just purely humanitarian. And for Hugh, this project is about deborging everybody, making more XBs and less Borgs. And the Romulans are just here to kind of help fund, maintain this project, and also get some cash out of it. And right. So I think, as far as like how Hugh got there, I think we can only speculate, because there's a large span from like that season 7 episode where we see Hugh for the last time until now. But I would imagine since when Hugh went back to the Borg cube, he kind of fucked their shit up, and then Lore came in and became the charismatic leader, and then they stopped Lore with the help of Picard and all them. So my thought process is that those Borgs were just kind of like sitting around like, okay, we're individuals now, but we don't have a charismatic leader. What the fuck? Hugh being the one who was first, kind of deprogrammed, but still Borgified with his augments. It's like, well, like, we should probably get all this junk off of us and try to, live our lives. And then one thing led to another, and he got this job.
All right.
He obviously has some natural leadership capability because he was the leader of people who were sick of Lore's shit after like that kind of turned out to not work out for them. He was the first to be deborged besides Acutus. So even before 7 of 9, as far as I could tell. Yeah,
right. Yeah. No one ever calls Picard an XB, but he's
technically,
he's passing as an as an unassimilated, but he's really XB.
He's white passing. I mean,
unassimilated passing.
Yeah. There you go.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. I do hope that comes up more in the show. Like, no, Picard. Like, you're one of us. Like, I hope either 7 of 9 or Hugh. Bring that up.
I just want him when they tell him that I want him to be like, no, and like smash a fucking model ship or something.
Right, of course.
But it's true because like he could telepathically hear the Borg when they're around, and TNG. Like he's not just like complete. It's not completely removed from it, and I don't think it ever will be.
Yeah. So let's see. More about Soji and her agenda. Now, where Picard is like, is passing as unassimilated, Soji seems to have some an unassimilated savior complex, right? So her stated ambition to Ramda is that, like, she wants to help the XBs have a shared mythical framework. Like she wants to help build this. And so she sees this as part of her project as a therapist, which, this is a noble goal. But also, if you're talking to someone who's unassimilated about it, like, being like, hey, that's what I want to do. Exactly. Maybe not the right way to phrase it, but who am I? I'm not like a social worker.
Look.
Soji needs to check. Go ahead.
Soji's been reading her Jordan Peterson, and she
really
understands the importance of myth and of these symbols.
This is true. This turned her on to this very important. What's his name? The guy that did Massive Meaning. Oh yes, Joseph Campbell. I'm sorry.
That's
what?
Great.
Carl Jung? No. But Carl Jung thought it was real. Joseph Campbell made it useful because he talked about Star Wars. Sorry.
I don't know, y'all. I think Sochi needs to check her white guilt and white privilege. I mean, her unassimilated guilt and unassimilated privilege.
It's funnier that way.
Also, I just wanted to clarify a point. There was a special term that the people, like the staff on the cube, were using to refer to the Romulans who had been assimilated. What was that again?
Yeah, it was just something really obvious, like
the
disordered.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, where it's like Romulans can't be assimilated, or no, Romulans like we're not sure what exactly happened there, but they have like the worst after effects of being assimilated out of anyone.
Yeah, there's not that many, but the ones that are unassimilated end up kind of like a bit fried, and it's obviously like patterned after psych ward like films and that sort of thing.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of
deal.
Deal.
Totally. It sort of reminds me of the mutants on Deep Space Nine, the so-called mutants, but a bit more so, a bit less functional than them, quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a big thing, and then apparently Rhonda, as a result of this, is prophetic, right? Like, able to do prophecy from future backwards kind of thing.
Yes, I remember you from yesterday, or I remember you from tomorrow. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think this kind of lends credence to Kyle's theory from, I don't know, I think it was last episode of the stream. Kyle said something that the explanation, or maybe even the first episode, but the only explanation you said was that the Romulans themselves are some kind of artificial life form.
Oh, that they have a history with this. Yeah. I think that might have been related to my like, are they going to tie this into season 2 disco thing? But we'll see about that still.
I think even if it isn't tied into season 2 disco, like the Romulans being like some form of AI themselves, and that's why they hate all other AI so much.
And that's why their brains get especially scrambled when assimilated.
Right, and it also fucks with the Borg shit because like the Borg are expecting this organic life form, and it's not.
Does not compute.
I would also be really interested to see if something like that is true. Like, I don't know, like maybe there's like AI patterning that's like in their heritage or something like that. I'd be really interested to see if like Commodore O as a Vulcan knows some of this history. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be nice. Like, that'd be a nice tie-in. Because, yeah, Vulcans and Romulans, bosom buddies. You know, cousins. Very close cousins.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I don't know. Yeah, so I think that's interesting speculation. I think, I don't know. I was getting saucy last time talking about the temporal civil war or the temporal Cold War from Enterprise or whatever. Then just recently I learned that there are time ships in Star Trek Voyager.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, there's an episode about the time ship relativity. I wonder if there's going to be some funny time travel action in this. And I don't know.
Yeah, because Rhonda is definitely the character who's unstuck in time, right? It's that trope.
I definitely got that feel that she's unstuck in time. And maybe I hope they don't go in that direction because we already got a huge dose of time travel in Discovery Season 2. But if these things are like connected in a way, I think I could deal.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. So, other things to talk about, maybe?
One more thing on the uses of nostalgia. There's a really great line that, 14 years ago, Rafi says to JL. It's like, there has to be some last wild, desperate solution, JL. That's what you do. And JL's like, yeah, I already tried that, and it didn't work. That's a good... I think that was a nice wink at the camera. And like, hey, we remember, but this time it didn't work. Remember every time you were sitting there like, oh, of course it worked. Show. Well, when you stopped watching, it didn't work this time.
The spirit of the viewers was not with Picard.
Yeah, and so when
Picard
he tried his last desperate
plot
solution,
armor,
yeah, he wasn't invulnerable then.
I kind of imagining Picard like floating up in the sky like Goku, being like, "Viewers, give me your strength."
Yes.
Oh man, Star Trek anime.
Yeah, we neglected last time to mention the glorious return of Romulan shoulder pads. They're back, baby.
Yes.
They're back.
No, we
and
did
they're
talk about
fabulous and they're real.
I think we talked about that though.
No, I don't think.
No, that was after the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They're fabulous and they're real.
The haircut's not back.
Oh yeah, right. There's
like
just
when Rizzo returns to her Romulan form, she's not sporting the hair.
Right. Did the trad Romulan from the last episode?
No, he was bald.
You're right. No, you're right. He had this kind
he's
of
Billy Corgan trad.
Yeah, but he had this like kind of mohawk thing. It's like did he have like a smooth side of the head mohawk kind of deal?
Oh,
Like,
maybe.
Can I vote for he's Billy Corgan trad as the episode title?
Well, but I don't even think he's bald. He's not bald. And it's not like we're reviewing Nemesis now. Nemesis.
It's Neo-trad, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's actually what I think they were kind of going for. It's kind of like an alt-right haircut. Like, is this like kind of like shaved, like, but mohawk? Like, it was like a very small mohawk, like one of these weird like hipster versions. I don't know.
Got it.
Anyway,
but
really
Rizzo,
the haircut here.
Rizzo, despite being, the most xenophobic, extremely Romulan trad person around, still does not sport the hair.
Yeah, not bringing the hair back. So it only gets so trad.
Yeah.
Make Romulan hair great again.
Yeah. Okay, Rizzo, or a quote Lieutenant Rizzo quote, because that's no way that's her real name. Like, and Narek. Like, I know they're supposed to be brother and sister, but their like scenes are really like tense and weird.
There was some weird sexual tension there I didn't notice it the first time, but the second time was like, ooh.
Oh God, yeah, it's really like one of the first things she says to him is essentially more or less like, "You smell like robot pussy, little brother." Like, more or less, right? I think the line is something like, "It smells surprisingly carnal," or something like this. It's like, God damn, that's fucking weird, sister. Jesus.
Super weird.
There's like a possessive thing going on there, right? Like, I'm so angry that you're fucking her, kind of thing.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh, you're right. Oh my God. Oh.
It's weird. I think they're just pulling like a page from Game of Thrones, honestly.
Okay,
Let's get that dynamic in there.
Yeah, let's get some weird like incest tension. That's completely unnecessary. Yeah. I guess a taboo is being violated because her little bro is like fucking an android, right? Like,
she
like
hates
very
androids,
taboo.
But it still has this possessive dimension, and the shots that they always do with Narissa are always these like panning around Narek thing, and they do these real close in shots to get that sexual tension built up. It's real weird.
Yeah.
They could have elicited different feelings in these scenes. They could have played out the taboo of him having sex with an android. Yeah. And as viewers, we have the knowledge that he's starting to fall in love with her even.
Right.
Like, they could have played out that tension of like, I know you're doing this for the greater good, but like, don't fucking fall in love with a robot. Like, that's fucked up, little brother. Instead, they had to make it like, ooh, Freudian, ooh.
Yeah.
Or make sure you wrap it up before you stick it in an android, little bro. Like, you never know where an android's been.
Literally anything. They could have been totally robot racist, totally like xenophobic or whatever. And instead they're like, yeah, stepbrother porn is popular, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. All
right. Well, it sounds like we're getting into our media critique side of things. What do we think of this episode in general?
I like this episode, despite the weird incest angle. I was especially impressed with the action scene that happens in the middle when Picard's chateau is invaded by the Zhat Vash. It felt way more artful than the previous action scenes we saw. Like, yes, those scenes were choreographed, but they weren't especially well shot, in my opinion. This one was actually well shot, like doing some neat camera tricks, like doing the shot from inside the cabinet when the Zhat Vash operative gets his head slammed into the glass. Very nice. And the cuts were really like high paced. They were high paced, but they weren't Michael Bay. You can't understand what's going on paced. So I liked all that stuff quite a bit. Aside from that, I thought the first scene with Raffi was really rough. I think that might have been the first scene they shot together, because the next one was a lot better. Like, I was like, oh yeah, like this, it like, because when the actress or the actor who was playing Raffi was
Michelle
like,
Hurd.
yeah, Michelle Hurd. When Michelle Hurd was going through that first scene, you could see very clearly that like she was hitting each emotional beat in a very like mechanical way. It was like, oh, this is my beat, this is my beat, this is my beat, this is my beat. I didn't find that super convincing. But then the second scene that they were together, that felt a lot more convincing to me, and it was also a lot better shot. So I was like, oh yeah, like at first I was like, I don't know about this character. Then after that one came in, I was like, okay, I'm on board with this.
I felt like it was maybe a writing thing. Like, I thought it was a little heavy, like the some of the lines in that scene were a bit heavy-handed, because a lot of those lines are things people say about other people, and rarely things people say about themselves. That's where I think maybe that scene might have suffered. But yeah, as usual, I'm not as critical about some of these things. So, like, I think the actor did a good job. And it might have been the first scene that they shot together. But yeah, the fight scene pacing was really, really great in this one. And there's also a great reveal at the end of the fight scene that is well shot, and kind of like they have to tell a whole story basically that they didn't tell this episode. You get this one scene of Commodore O visiting Dr. Girardi, and then at the end of the raid, there's one last Zhat Vash agent that catches everyone by surprise, gets disrupted from off screen, and then poor little Agnes Girardi is just shaking, holding a disruptor, like, oh no, I'm sorry, I snitched. I'm sorry, I didn't know they were gonna come kill you. Like,
that was really good.
Yeah.
If you snitch, the way you can immediately make up for that is to kill an assassin.
Yeah, right in front of them.
Right.
But that line, like, Romulan phasers don't have a stun setting.
Yeah.
It's real good.
Maybe it was on stun. Romulan disruptors don't have a stun setting. Oh no. Oh.
Yeah, maybe she should have just lied to Dr. Agnes and just be like, yes, honey, he's stunned. Let's go sit down.
Yes, yeah, let's have some wine, dear.
Look, the Tel Shiar don't fuck around with that stuff.
Yeah, I guess not. She's a real no bullshit type of Rom.
I guess, but like their former Tal Shiar, she scolds Shaban as like, we're not like them anymore, and she gingerly sprays the Romulan with a little squirt bottle to wake him up.
Yeah, instead of beating him awake.
Yeah,
I guess.
Fair.
Yeah.
That was really wholesome. She's just like,
it was wholesome.
Yeah.
So I like the episode too. I wanted to say about the Raffi Picard scene that y'all were talking about. I'm of two minds of that. I can kind of see, I don't have the eye for these kind of things like Kyle does, but I can kind of see what you were getting at. Like, there was something about it, like her facial acting felt very, and I think you're both right. Like, it's probably like the first scene, and also the script, the writing for that scene was a little bit rough than other Raffi scenes. So it never felt like that with Raffi besides that one scene. Her facial acting looked very like she thought about the thing she wanted to convey, and you could see that in her. With that being said, as someone who's like been around addiction my whole life, that scene also felt very real to me.
Okay.
Like the kind of self-pity, and I don't think they were trying necessarily to portray addiction per se, but like that's definitely a part of her character.
Oh no, I think they are trying to portray addiction.
That kind of scene
definitely.
that kind of scene where someone's being confronted, and the person's like, "Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Whatever. I'm not going to change though." That's kind of like what Raffi's doing. You know what I mean? And not only is she being like, "I'm a piece of shit," but also it's your fault and you're fucked up, and get the fuck out of my life. Like that felt super real to me. And it felt even more real because it, not in all cases, but in some cases, sometimes the other person does have a part to play. That doesn't justify what the addict's doing, obviously. But Picard did kind of like fucked out of her life, and left her kind of like in this hovel. And one of the things I wrote in the notes that we didn't have time to touch on, but I think Picard's kind of a dick in some ways. Like, and these last two episodes, like, he's very demanding of both Admiral Clancy and Raffi. Now, with Admiral Clancy, Picard has an ethical high ground, clearly. But with Raffi, he doesn't have shit. And then he's like, "You're going to help me, though, right?" And she's like, "No, maybe." And then he like calls her and he's like, "I'm sending you all this info." She's like, "I don't want it." She's like, "Okay, bye." God damn it. And it felt very demanding and arrogant, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels different with Raffi.
I think we get something about Picard in this episode, which I think is good character work, which is that he's got a mission now. He knows he's going to die. Like, he's got a terminal condition. And he's willing to use people around him for that. He has principles, right? Like, he's like, I'm not going to destroy the career of my friends by bringing them in on this.
Right.
But people who are outsiders, well, I'm doing the right thing, so it's okay if they get roped in, right? Like,
needs of the many versus needs of the few.
Yeah, I mean, he's determined on this.
Well, I don't. It's not a utilitarian thing. This is for data. This is for data and all those like data. You know, he can't put aside that Data's gone, and he feels beyond horrible that Data sacrifices himself.
It's also a matter of principle, right? To root out the corruption in Starfleet and that kind of stuff, right?
You know, which is like the forgivable angle here ultimately with Picard and Raffi, and why Raffi would bother to go along with this is that even despite all the personal hurt and like just, you know, angst that she has with Picard, she's right. There's something at the heart of the Federation that was compromised. And, you know, Picard is basically finally coming around.
Yeah. I think his motivation isn't utilitarian, but the effect is, right? Like, the effect is, sure, it's about data and synths, but it is also about Federation corruption. And if you can root out that, if his mission is successful, and he can root out that corruption, then that is going to have an immensely beneficial impact on the entirety of the Federation and, to an extent, the entirety of the galaxy, or at least the Alpha and Beta Quadrant. And so, I don't think that's his intention. I don't think he's sitting there doing the calculating the utils or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's the effect of what he's trying to go for. And in some ways, his motivation is less utilitarian and more personal too, because like what Kyle said, he's dying.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
And so his whole motivation is like, I got to get this done before I die, and I don't want to die just like sitting around my chateau letting the Federation fall apart. You know?
Well, I even wonder if he's thinking about it in terms of the Federation anymore. Everyone involved that has dealings with the Federation basically feel like the Federation is too far gone, and they're trying to do good around and outside the Federation. You don't think so?
There's that scene with Rios where he says, like, "Oh, I can see this, I can see this, I can see this. You are Starfleet to the core." And
well, you're Starfleet to the core, he says, as a way of being like, "Oh, you look at me and you see Starfleet. You look at me, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Admiral Picard. You know, you see Starfleet, but you know what? You're fucking Starfleet. You're disappointed. Like, you're bitter." Like,
yeah, but he's saying, like, also, like, the implication of that line is that Picard very strongly still holds the principles that he came to believe in Starfleet in his heart. You know, he's like, no, you're like me. You're a believer like me. Yeah.
Yes, but these people are all believers in the principles of Starfleet that no longer believe in the organization. And what might come about is the restoration of Starfleet as an organization, but none of this is really being framed in terms of let's save Starfleet. It's being everyone there is not happy with Starfleet. Even Girardi is pissed off that Starfleet basically, like, you know, made her research, her life's work impossible.
Yeah.
Like all of them are bitter towards this organization, even though they embody the principles. And
It's that
even explicitly.
alienation.
Yeah, totally. And I think, it might have a restorative impact on Starfleet, but their motivations are elsewhere. Even for Raffi, exposing corruption, maybe, 15 years ago, it would have been to save Starfleet 14 years ago. But now it's like something much more personal.
It's about vindication.
Right.
It's about saving herself more than anything.
Yeah, it's about
justifying the self-destruction of her life since she left. Or since she was quit, she was fired. Have I just been fucking destroying myself for no good reason, or did I have a right to be mad? I need to know, and I need to fix it.
Right. This is a chance for redemption for all of these characters,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not for Starfleet.
Well, I was going to say, there's still the issue of Disco Season 3. We know for a fact, just from the trailers, that the Federation does not exist 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
the
a lot
happy
of things
ending
can happen in 1,000 years.
Right, well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think that the happy ending to Picard means that the Federation is good forever. What it might mean is that maybe they, rooted out corruption this time, but, this tendency, the clenching of the butthole, if you will, tendency, is ingrained so much in the Federation that it will destroy itself eventually.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about more is just, why is Picard behaving so instrumentally in his relationship with the crew, right? I think Girardi is the only one we haven't seen him do that with yet, right?
Okay.
The other two, it's okay, I think there's a bit of a savior complex thing going on with Picard that is making him justify doing things yeah, I'm just gonna antagonize you and manipulate your trauma into coming on and helping me on this mission.
Right. Yeah, ultimately, it really, that's all communicated through his dealings with Raffi, because Rios, he's got a mercenary attitude. There's not really that emotional dimension, other than his, personal kind of pain. But with Raffi, you really see Picard in an unflattering light, all the way through.
I think with Dr. Agnes too, there's a clear difference that makes her different from Raffi and Rios. Picard can tell with Rios, and he knows Raffi, that these are tough customers, and he can be a bit more manipulative or whatever, and he can it's still not right, but he could justify it easier with, Dr. Agnes, who comes in shaking like a leaf after shooting this Romulan. She did the right thing. This guy was going to fucking kill them. But she is just not that kind of tough customer. She is a scientist, not a warrior. And so Picard was really sweet with her, actually. Quite different from both Raffi and Rios.
Yeah. Well, he's a effective leader. There's no question about that.
So I suppose we shall see where all this leaves us. Do we have anything that we really want to see in the future? I mean, besides Jake Sisko at FNN and other Deep Space Nine references, because we need it.
I think I've already said the two things I want to see. What does this Free Cloud look like? How much does it look like Bespin? How many pulls are there going to be from Mass Effect 2? And then also, I want to see either Hugh or 7 of 9 call Picard on being an XB. And I want to see that dimension brought up in the plot.
The thing I want to see is a very awkward dance scene where Picard is in the Mass Effect bar going...
Picard shuffle.
Yeah, just shuffling back and forth.
Yeah.
As we all know, Mass Effect 2 is clearly the highlight of the series. Don't trust anyone that says otherwise.
Is the Romulan the Romulan samurai character going to be an ex-cop who's hanging out on Free Cloud, on the tough streets of Free Cloud, taking care of all the scum and villainy?
And where are the
Calibrate some
remans?
sensors.
And where are the Remans in all this?
Yeah.
You know? Where are the Remans?
Yeah.
Like, are they just gonna be blown up like just like some kind of plot error? Is that why the Federation, is that why Star Trek decided to go with the JJ event of the destruction of the Romulan Star Empire? Is it
might.
just to wipe away Nemesis other than Data being dead? Like, because I think it might be.
You don't have to deal with all that shit then.
Like, one plausible reason that I could see the Remans being dead is if they were a slave caste, you would think that the Romulans would be the first ones to sacrifice them in an evacuation situation.
Right, especially if they did an inside job to sacrifice like a whole load of their own people. They're probably like, "Oh, Remans, Billy Corgan, get the fuck out of here!" Like just bye. And what? Next question: will the same tendency lead them to fridge Chakotay? Because in every single scene that you get, in every single trailer that you get, the action, you say, "Hey, 7 of 9's back." Then 7 of 9 is like crying over somebody. Okay, we know that 7 of 9 and Chakotay are married, but are you going to do that to us, Star Trek? Because you couldn't figure out how to write Native Americans in the 90s because you hired an Armenian con man. And so does Chakotay have to suffer for this? And if
I'm going to be really mad if that's what they do.
I'm going to be extraordinarily mad if that's what they do. I will not be happy with that.
Because the right thing to do, and not even that much of a difficult thing to do at this point, is to improve Chakotay's fucking character.
Right. Just upgrade him to a, descendant of an actual Native American tribe, and just retcon that you didn't know how to do that in the 90s.
Yeah.
You mayonnaise people. Please.
They kind of did that with Worf from TNG to DS9, right? He became a better character.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think so. He got a little bit more dimensions to him.
He got more dimensions, but he was a bigger dick in DS9. And he was a dick
but that doesn't mean he was a worse character.
Well, I think they fleshed out that the guy from TNG would be a total dick. If you really thought about it. Right? Even though Worf's an honorable Klingon, he's a bad father. And it's pretty prickly and kind of trying super hard to be trad. And that guy would be a total asshole.
Yeah.
As I guess I think Deep Space Nine is getting that. But yeah, I don't know. It would be totally possible to give Chakotay an upgrade.
Yeah.
Star Trek, if you're listening, do not fridge Chakotay.
Don't fridge Chakotay.
Just make him
decision.
Just make him, a real life, tribe instead of inventing the rubber people. Okay?
All they had to do was make him more similar to the Journey's End Native Americans. They weren't that bad.
Yeah.
The vagueness and the one episode-ness of that kind of worked in their favor, but it looked like a lot of those actors were actually Native American, first of all, which is that's a good start.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious good start.
Yeah.
So, well, on that note, this is Ezra for Sophia and Kyle, and for Chairman Tom O'Brien. Chairman Tom. Jeez. He's not that tanky. Chief Tom O'Brien. And I guess we're going to head off. Live long and prosper.
This is the story of a girl who cried her friend drowned the whole world.
And lived long and prosper. And lived long and prospered. And she looks so sad in photographs. I absolutely love her when she's logical. Bye.